The human ship looked tiny next to the alien vessels. Sarah Chen pressed her face against the small window of the Endeavour and watched 12 different kinds of alien ships floating around the space station. Each ship was huge and strange. Some glowed with bright colors. Others moved like they were alive. A few seemed to be made of pure light. "First time seeing them up close?" asked Captain Williams. He was an old man with gray hair who had been flying ships for 30 years. But even he had never seen aliens before today. "Yes," Sarah said. She was Earth's first ambassador to the aliens. The job scared her, but someone had to do it. They look so advanced. "Maybe too advanced for us," the captain said quietly. The space station was called Kepler Prime. It was neutral ground where different species could meet safely. The aliens had built it after they formed their group called the Galactic Confederation. 12 different alien races worked together to control most of the galaxy. Humans had just learned about them 6 months ago. Sarah wore her best blue suit and carried a briefcase full of Earth's documents. Inside were pictures of human cities, samples of human art, and technical data about human technology. She hoped the aliens would be impressed. She hoped they would accept humans as equals. The docking bay was enormous. The Endeavour looked like a toy inside it. Sarah walked down the ramp and saw the welcoming committee waiting for her. Her breath caught in her throat. The first alien looked like a living crystal. It was tall and thin, with light flowing through its transparent body. This was a Zephyrian. They could control energy and bend space with their minds. The second alien looked like a giant tree made of coral. Its bark was pink and purple, and small lights blinked along its branches. This was a Vorthak. They grew their technology instead of building it. The third alien was the strangest of all. It had no solid body. Instead, it was a glowing cloud of yellow light that roughly looked like a person. This was High Counselor Zenthara from the Hegemony. Her people had given up their physical bodies long ago and become pure energy. "Welcome, human," the crystal being said. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. "I am Kelvaran of the Zephyrians. We are curious about your species." The way it said curious made Sarah uncomfortable. It sounded like someone talking about an interesting bug they had found. "Thank you for meeting with us," Sarah said. She bowed politely. "I bring greetings from all of humanity." The coral alien made a sound like rustling leaves. "Your ship," it said in a voice like creaking wood. "It burns chemicals for fuel. How primitive." Sarah felt her cheeks turn red. "Our fusion engines are quite efficient, actually. We've been using them for over 200 years, the energy being laughed. The sound was like electricity crackling. 200 years? Child, we have been traveling between stars for over 50,000 years. Your metal boxes with fire engines are toys compared to our technology." More aliens gathered around them as they walked through the station. Sarah saw creatures with 6 arms, beings made of living metal and things that looked like floating jellyfish. All of them stared at her with what seemed like amusement. The meeting room was huge and circular. Representatives from all 12 alien races sat around a glowing table. Sarah sat alone on one side, feeling very small. "Let us begin," Zenthara said. Her light body pulsed brighter. "Show us what humanity has to offer the galaxy." Sarah opened her briefcase and activated a small holographic projector. Images of Earth appeared in the air above the table. Cities with tall buildings, farms with green fields, oceans with ships sailing across them. "Earth has 4 billion people," Sarah began. "We have developed fusion power, quantum computers, and faster-than-light travel. We have colonies on 12 worlds and—" "12 worlds?" interrupted a slug-like creature with multiple eyes. "We have colonized 12,000 worlds. Each of my people's cities houses more beings than your entire species." Sarah tried to continue. She showed them human art, music, and literature. She explained human science and philosophy. But the aliens barely paid attention. Some of them whispered to each other in languages that sounded like music or static or rushing water. When she finished, there was a long silence. "Interesting," Kelvaran finally said. "Your species shows on potential. With proper guidance, you might one day become civilized." "We are civilized," Sarah said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Humans have built great cities, created beautiful art, and explored the stars." "With chemical rockets," Zenthara said with another crackling laugh. "Tell me, human, how do you communicate across the galaxy? Radio waves that take years to travel between worlds?" "We use quantum entanglement relays," Sarah said proudly. Messages can travel instantly across any distance. The aliens looked at each other. Some of them made sounds that might have been laughter. Quantum entanglement repeated a spider-like being with crystal eyes. How delightfully ancient. We used such crude methods when we were young. Now we simply think our messages across the galaxy. Our minds are connected by networks of pure thought. Sarah felt smaller and smaller. Everything humanity was proud of. These aliens had done better thousands of years ago. Her holographic projector looked like a child's toy compared to the technology around her. "What about your weapons?" asked a creature that looked like a living shadow. "Surely you have developed interesting ways to defend yourselves." Sarah hesitated. Earth's military had told her not to reveal too much about human weapons. "We have defensive systems. Plasma cannons, particle beams, quantum torpedoes." More alien laughter filled the room. "Plasma cannons," Synthara said. "How wonderfully primitive. We discarded such crude tools millennia ago. Our weapons can unmake matter at the atomic level, or trap enemies in pocket dimensions." The meeting continued for 3 more hours. Every aspect of human achievement was compared to alien technology and found lacking. Human medicine was quaint compared to alien ability to regrow entire bodies. Human manufacturing was inefficient compared to alien matter converters that could build anything from raw atoms. Finally, Kelvoran stood up. "We have reached a decision," he announced. "Humanity will be granted associate membership in the Galactic Confederation." Sarah felt a moment of hope. "Associate membership," Synthara continued, "is reserved for species that have achieved basic spaceflight, but are not yet advanced enough for full participation. You will be allowed to trade in designated areas under proper supervision. Your territory will be protected as long as you follow Confederation laws." Sarah's heart sank. Associate membership was basically being treated like children. What would it take for humans to earn full membership? "Oh, several thousand years of development at least," the coral alien said casually. "Perhaps longer. Your species has such a long way to go." As Sarah walked back to her ship, she felt angry and humiliated. The aliens had treated her like a barbarian showing rocks to scientists. They had barely listened to anything she said. But as she reviewed her recordings of the meeting, she noticed something strange. Several times alien technology had behaved in ways that seemed familiar. The Zephyrians' quantum manipulations looked similar to theoretical work human scientists had proposed. The Vorthak's biological engineering reminded her of experiments she had read about in classified files. It was probably nothing. Just her imagination trying to make connections where none existed. But still, she made careful notes of everything she had observed. Something felt wrong about the aliens' casual dismissal of humanity. They were too confident, too quick to assume human inferiority. Sarah decided she would keep watching and learning. Maybe the aliens were right about human technology being primitive, but maybe, just maybe, they were missing something important. 3 months had passed since the meeting at Kepler Prime. Sarah Chen was back on Earth writing reports that nobody wanted to read. The aliens had made humanity look foolish and everyone knew it. But the real problem started when human ships began getting stopped in space. Captain Maria, Santos was hauling medical supplies to the human colony on New Geneva when 3 alien ships surrounded her cargo vessel, the Prometheus. The ships were sleek and silver, belonging to something called the Confederation Patrol Force. "Human vessel, prepare to be boarded for safety inspection," came a voice over the radio. It sounded bored, like someone doing a routine job. "This is neutral space," Maria replied. "You have no authority here. All primitive vessels must be inspected for the safety of galactic traffic. Do not resist." Maria had been flying cargo ships for 15 years. She knew when someone was pushing her around. But her ship had no weapons, and the alien vessels could probably destroy her without trying. The aliens who boarded her ship looked like tall, thin humans with blue skin and 4 arms. They moved through her cargo hold like they owned it, scanning everything with strange devices. "Your fusion reactor is leaking radiation," one of them announced. "This violates Confederation safety standards." "No, it's not," Maria said angrily. "I just had it serviced last month. The radiation levels are well within human safety limits. Human limits are insufficient. We are confiscating your cargo and detaining you for violation of shipping regulations." That was when Maria realized this had nothing to do with safety. The aliens were stealing her cargo and making up excuses. By the time she was released 3 days later, word had spread throughout human space. The aliens were not treating humans as equals. even with their associate membership. President Martinez called an emergency meeting in Geneva. Sarah was there along with the heads of Earth's military and the colonial governors of all 12 human worlds. "They're testing us," said Admiral Jackson, the head of Earth's space forces. "They want to see how much we'll take before we fight back." "Fighting is exactly what they want," Sarah argued. "They have ships that can destroy planets. We have 12 colonies and a few hundred cargo vessels. We have more than that," the president said quietly. "Show them, Admiral." Admiral Jackson activated a holographic display. In the air above the conference table, a ship appeared. It was not like the small cargo vessels humans usually built. This ship was 2 kilometers long, angular and gray, with weapon ports along its hull. "The Aurora," Admiral Jackson said. "We've been building her in secret for 5 years. She's our first real warship." Sarah stared at the image. She looked so basic. Compared to alien ships, she's just a metal box with engines and guns. "Sometimes basic is better," the Admiral replied. "Alien ships are complicated. Lots of advanced systems that can break down. The Aurora is simple, tough, built to fight." "One ship against their entire fleet?" Sarah asked. "Let's see what happens," President Martinez said. "Captain Rodriguez, you have your orders. Don't start a fight, but if they want to test us, show them what humans can do." The test came 2 weeks later. Captain Rodriguez was flying the Aurora through the Centauri system when 12 alien ships appeared on his sensors. They came from different races, crystal ships that bent light around them, living coral vessels that pulsed with organic energy, and energy beings in ships made of pure force. "Human vessel, you are in restricted space," came a transmission. Sarah recognized the voice of High Counselor Zenthara. "Surrender immediately for processing. This is Captain Rodriguez of the Terran ship Aurora. We are in neutral space on a peaceful mission. We will not surrender." Alien laughter filled the radio channel. "Look at it," Zenthara said to her allies. "A primitive metal box trying to play with real spaceships. Shall we disable it quickly or let it struggle first?" "I vote for struggle," said another voice. "It might be entertaining." Rodriguez felt his crew tense up around him. His weapons officer, Lieutenant Park, had her hand over the firing controls. His navigator, Ensign Williams, was plotting escape routes that they all knew wouldn't work. "Last warning, human," Zenthara said. "Surrender or be destroyed." Rodriguez looked at his crew. These were good people. Scientists, engineers, soldiers who had volunteered to test humanity's first real warship. They trusted him to get them home alive. "All ships, this is Captain Rodriguez," he said calmly. "Weapons free. Let's show them what humans can do." What happened next amazed everyone, including Rodriguez himself. The Aurora's guns opened fire, but not randomly. Each weapon targeted a specific system on each alien ship. The plasma cannons that the aliens had mocked as primitive somehow penetrated shields that should have been impossible to break. The quantum torpedoes, dismissed as outdated technology, struck with perfect accuracy. The crystal Zephyrian ship tried to bend space around itself to escape, but the Aurora's computers seemed to predict exactly where it would appear. The living Vorthak vessel released clouds of defensive spores, but human sensors tracked it perfectly through the biological smokescreen. Most shocking of all, when Zenthara's energy beings tried to phase out of normal space, human weapons followed them into whatever dimension they hid in. "Impossible," Zenthara's voice crackled over the radio. "Your primitive weapons cannot affect pure energy beings." "Apparently they can," Rodriguez replied. His ship was dancing between alien vessels, moving with a precision that seemed impossible for such a large ship. "Would you like to surrender now?" The battle lasted 17 minutes. When it ended, all 12 alien ships were floating dead in space. Not destroyed. Rodriguez had been careful about that, but completely disabled. Their weapons were offline, their engines were dead, and their shields were gone. But not a single alien had been killed. The human weapons had surgically shut down every system without harming the crews. "How?" Zenthara's voice was barely a whisper. "Our technology is thousands of years more advanced than yours. How did you defeat us so easily?" Rodriguez looked at his weapons display. According to his computers, the alien ships had no surprises. Every system, every weapon, every defense had been exactly what the Aurora's database predicted it would be. "I don't know," he said honestly. "Our computers seemed to know exactly how your ships worked, like we'd been studying them for years." That was the strangest part. The Aurora's targeting systems had recognized alien technology instantly, not just recognized it. They had known its weaknesses, its blind spots, its failure points, as if human engineers had designed the alien systems themselves. News of the battle spread across the galaxy in hours. For the first time in recorded history, a primitive species had defeated the combined forces of the Confederation. Alien leaders called emergency meetings. Scientists demanded explanations. On Earth, President Martinez received reports from Captain Rodriguez with growing amazement. The Aurora had not just won, it had dominated completely. And the strangest part was how easy it had seemed. It was like fighting children, Rodriguez reported. Their technology looked impressive, but once we understood how it worked, it was simple to counter. How did we understand it so quickly? Martinez asked. That's the mystery, sir. Our computers had detailed files on alien technology that I didn't know existed. When I asked our science officer about it, she said the files had always been there, part of our basic database. Sarah Chen received a copy of the battle report at her home in Geneva. She read it 3 times, trying to make sense of what had happened. Humanity's primitive technology had effortlessly defeated the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. But as she studied the technical details, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. The alien ship designs, the ones that human computers had known so well, were similar to theoretical blueprints she had seen in classified archaeological files. Files about ancient ruins found on human worlds. Ruins that scientists assumed had been left by some unknown alien visitor millions of years ago. What if they had been wrong about who built those ruins? Sarah opened her secure communication link and called the director of Earth's archaeological division. She had questions that needed answers, and she had a feeling that those answers were going to change everything humanity thought it knew about itself. Dr. Elena Vasquez had been studying ancient ruins her entire career, but she had never seen aliens so interested in her work. The emergency council meeting on Kepler Prime was supposed to be about humanity's surprising victory, but instead, every alien scientist wanted to talk about archaeology. Show us the weapon signatures again, demanded Dr. Kelvaran, the crystal Zephyrian. His usually calm voice carried an edge of panic. The holographic display showed energy patterns from the battle. Each human weapon had left a unique mark when it fired. To most people, they looked like random squiggles of light. But Dr. Kelvaran was not most people. He was the galaxy's leading expert on precursor ruins. These patterns, he said slowly, they match theoretical models from the ruins on Kepler 7. The mathematical signatures are identical. High Counselor Zenthera flickered with nervous energy. That's impossible. The precursors died out millions of years ago, long before any current species achieved spaceflight. The dating might be wrong, suggested Dr. Morgan, a slug-like creature with 12 tentacles covered in sensors. Perhaps the ruins are more recent than we thought. But Kelvaran was already running new calculations. His crystal body flashed with different colors as he processed data. I've been studying precursor sites for 3,000 years. I know their technology signatures by heart. The humans didn't just copy precursor weapons. They're using the exact same principles down to the quantum level. The room fell silent. Every alien leader was thinking the same impossible thought. On the other side of the galaxy, Sarah Chen was having a very different conversation in a secret facility buried under the Swiss mountains. Director Harrison of the Archaeological Division was showing her files that officially didn't exist. "We found ruins on every human world," Harrison explained as he led her through underground laboratories. "At first, we assumed they were built by aliens who visited Earth long ago. The technology was so advanced, so far beyond anything humans had ever created. They stopped in front of a massive vault door. Harrison pressed his hand against a scanner and the door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was the most beautiful room Sarah had ever seen. The walls were covered with flowing patterns of light that seemed to move and dance. In the center stood a pillar of black crystal, perfectly smooth and warm to the touch. "This is a precursor data core," Harrison said. "We found it on Mars in 2387. It took us 300 years just to figure out how to turn it on. You can read it?" Sarah asked, "Some of it. The language is familiar, like something we should recognize but don't quite remember. Our best linguists say it shares roots with ancient human languages, Sanskrit, Latin, Old Mandarin. But that's impossible because those languages developed on Earth, long after the precursors supposedly died out." Sarah walked around the crystal pillar. The light pattern seemed to respond to her presence, glowing brighter when she got close. What does it say? That's the strangest part, Harrison said. The few sections we've translated talk about something called the Colonial Navy, about a war between the Navy and something called the Synthesis Collective, about evacuation procedures and emergency protocols. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Colonial Navy? Like a human organization? That's what we thought at first. But the dates are all wrong. According to this data core, the Colonial Navy was active over 700 years ago. Humans barely had steam engines 700 years ago. Harrison activated a holographic display. Ancient star maps appeared in the air, showing trade routes and military positions across the galaxy. Sarah recognized some of the star systems. They were places where humans had colonies now. Look at this, Harrison said, pointing to a section of the map. These are listed as Colonial Navy outposts. And here, and here, these are marked as Synthesis Collective strongholds. Sarah studied the map carefully. The Synthesis Collective territories corresponded exactly to areas where the hegemony, the energy beings like Zenthara, now had their biggest populations. There's more, Harrison continued. He touched the crystal and new images appeared. Ships that looked similar to the Aurora, but larger and more advanced. Weapons that matched the signatures from Captain Rodriguez's battle. Most disturbing of all, pictures of humans working alongside creatures that looked exactly like the aliens Sarah had met. This doesn't make sense, Sarah said. Are you suggesting that humans built an interstellar empire 700 years ago? That we were already in contact with aliens? I'm not suggesting anything, Harrison replied. I'm just showing you what we found. But there's something else you need to see. He led her to another room filled with biological samples in glowing containers. We've been analyzing DNA from various ruins. All of it is human, but it's been modified in strange ways. Enhanced reflexes, improved radiation resistance, the ability to survive in low-oxygen environments. Sarah looked at the samples more closely. Some of them didn't look entirely human anymore. What kind of modifications? The same kinds of modifications we see in the aliens, Harrison said quietly. The Zephyrians' ability to manipulate energy, the Vorthak's biological integration, the hegemony's energy transformation. We've found genetic markers for all of it in these ruins. Meanwhile, back on Kepler Prime, Dr. Kelveran was making discoveries that terrified him. He had run linguistic analysis on the battle communications, comparing human speech patterns to ancient precursor records. The humans, he announced to the Emergency Council, their languages contain the same mathematical structures we found in precursor texts. Not similar structures, identical ones. What are you saying? Demanded Zenthara. I'm saying that either the humans learned precursor languages in the past few months, which is impossible, or... Kelveran paused, his crystal body dimming with shock. Or the precursors were human. The council chamber erupted in angry shouts from a dozen different species. The idea was absurd. Humans were primitive newcomers who had just discovered faster-than-light travel. The precursors had been the most advanced civilization the galaxy had ever known. But Dr. Morgan was already running his own analysis. His tentacles flashed with bioluminescent patterns as he processed genetic data from precursor sites and compared it to human DNA samples from the recent diplomatic meetings. The genetic markers are consistent, he announced over the noise. Within acceptable margins of error, precursor DNA and human DNA are identical. The chamber fell silent again. Furthermore, Morgan continued, I have detected similar genetic patterns in all of our species. Zephyrians carry modified human genetic sequences. Vorthak biology shows clear signs of human genetic engineering. Even the hegemony energy patterns correspond to human neural activity. Zenthara flickered frantically. That's impossible. We are pure energy. We transcended physical form millennia ago. Yes, Morgan said calmly, using technology that appears to be of human origin. On Earth, Sarah was staring at the most shocking display yet. Harrison had activated a timeline that showed the rise and fall of human civilization across the galaxy. According to the precursor records, humanity had reached its peak around 2400 CE, controlling over 10,000 star systems. Then came the war. 50 years of fighting between those who wanted to remain human and those who wanted to become something else. The quantum gate network that connected human worlds collapsed. Colonies were abandoned. Entire populations disappeared. The survivors scattered, Harrison explained. Some stayed human but lost most of their technology. Others modified themselves to survive on alien worlds. A few succeeded in transcending physical existence entirely. And they forgot, Sarah said slowly. Over 700 years they forgot they were human. It looks that way. The ruins suggest that the war was so traumatic that many survivors deliberately erased their own memories. They wanted to forget the pain of losing their civilization. Sarah thought about the aliens she had met. Zenthara's arrogance, Kelvaran's dismissive attitude, the casual cruelty of the patrol forces. They treated humans like primitive children because they had forgotten that humans were their ancestors. What about us? She asked. The humans on Earth and the colonies. Why didn't we forget? Harrison smiled sadly. Because we never left. Earth was the heart of the human empire, but it was also the most damaged by the war. We survived, but we lost almost everything. Our technology, our star maps, our history. We had to start over from almost nothing. But we kept records, deep in our genetic memory, in our archaeological sites, in our legends and myths. We never forgot that we were human. We just forgot that we had once been so much more. Sarah looked at the ancient star maps floating in the air around her. Thousands of human worlds lost and forgotten. Millions of modified humans who now called themselves aliens. An entire galactic civilization waiting to remember who they really were. The aliens are going to figure this out soon, she said. Their scientists are too good to miss the connections much longer. Yes, Harrison agreed. The question is, what do we do when they do? Dr. Kelvaran had not slept in 3 days. His crystal body was dim with exhaustion, but he could not stop working. The discovery on Kepler-7 would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about itself. The ancient data vault was buried deep under the planet's frozen surface. It had taken 6 different species working together to crack the security codes, and what they found inside made them all wish they had left it alone. Begin recording, Kelvaran said to his team. His voice echoed in the underground chamber as he activated the precursor holographic system. The air shimmered, and suddenly they were not alone. A human woman appeared in front of them, as solid and real as if she had been standing there all along. She wore a uniform of deep blue with golden stripes on the sleeves. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple style, and her brown eyes held a sadness that seemed to reach across centuries. I am Admiral Elizabeth Santos, commanding officer of the Human Colonial Navy, the hologram said in perfect standard English. If you are seeing this recording, then something has gone very wrong with our civilization. The alien scientists stared in shock. Here was proof that could not be denied. The precursors were human, but the woman continued speaking, and what she said next was even more disturbing. Today is March 15th, 2387 CE. The war with the Synthesis Collective has been raging for 47 years. We are losing. Images appeared around the hologram. Massive space battles between human fleets, planets burning under orbital bombardment, civilians fleeing in desperate refugee ships. The collective believes that physical existence is a prison. Admiral Santos continued. They seek to transform all humanity into pure energy beings, claiming this will make us immortal and all-powerful. They have already converted millions of our people, and their converts fight alongside them willingly. More images flashed past, humans undergoing strange procedures that left them glowing with inner light, others being modified with crystals and organic technology, some transforming into creatures that barely looked human anymore. But transformation comes at a cost, the Admiral said. The converted lose their memories, their connections to their past, their understanding of what they once were. They become something new, powerful but no longer human. Dr. Morgan's tentacles twitched nervously. The organic modifications shown in the hologram looked exactly like Vorthak biotechnology. The crystal enhancements matched Zephyrian capabilities perfectly, and the energy transformations were identical to what the hegemony had achieved. We have made a terrible choice, Admiral Santos continued. Rather than see humanity enslaved by the collective's vision, we are implementing Protocol Omega. The quantum gate network will be shut down. All advanced technology will be hidden or destroyed. Our colonies will be cut off from each other and forced to develop independently. The hologram showed star maps with connection lines winking out one by one. Thousands of human worlds suddenly isolated, left to survive on their own or perish. Some colonies will thrive and eventually rediscover the stars. Others will adapt themselves to survive on harsh worlds, becoming something new in the process. A few will succeed in the collective's transformation, but lose all memory of their origins. Admiral Santos looked directly at the recording device, as if she could see the alien scientist watching her centuries later. If you are human and you are seeing this, then Protocol Omega succeeded. You survived the Dark Age and returned to space. The technology caches hidden throughout our former territory will respond to your genetic signature. Use them wisely. The hologram flickered and Admiral Santos's expression became sad. If you are not human but you carry human genetic markers, then you are one of our lost children. You are the descendants of humans who were transformed by war and necessity. The memories buried in your DNA will tell you the truth about your origins. Dr. Kelveron felt something strange happening to his crystal body. Patterns of light were flowing through him that he had never seen before. Images were forming in his mind, memories that were not his own. He remembered being a child on a world of red sand and blue sun. He remembered parents with flesh and blood faces, not crystal bodies. He remembered the day the Transformers came, promising that his family could survive the harsh radiation of their world if they accepted crystal implants. The memories came flooding back. Generation by generation, his people had become more crystal and less flesh, until they forgot they had ever been human at all. Around him, other alien scientists were experiencing the same awakening. Dr. Morgan's tentacles were glowing with bioluminescent patterns that spelled out words in ancient human languages. The hegemony representatives were flickering between energy and solid form, remembering what it felt like to have bodies. "We are sorry," Admiral Santos said from the hologram. "We are sorry for abandoning you. Sorry for leaving you to face the galaxy alone. Sorry for forgetting you were our children. But if you are seeing this, then perhaps it is not too late to remember what we once were together." The recording ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. On Earth, Sarah Chen was preparing for the most important meeting of her life. Director Harrison had given her copies of everything, all the archaeological evidence, all the genetic data, all the historical records that proved humanity's forgotten past. President Martinez had authorized her to return to Kepler Prime with full diplomatic authority. But this time she would not be arriving on the small cargo vessel Endeavour. This time she would travel aboard humanity's greatest secret. The ship was called Synthesis, and it had been sleeping in Earth's asteroid belt for over 700 years. Admiral Santos's personal flagship, waiting for the day when humans would be ready to reclaim their heritage. Sarah walked through corridors that hummed with awakening power. The ship's systems were coming online one by one, remembering functions that had been dormant for centuries. Quantum gates were connecting to networks that spanned the galaxy. Defense platforms were activating in star systems that aliens thought they controlled. Captain Rodriguez met her in the ship's vast command center. The same man who had defeated 12 alien ships with the Aurora now looked tiny against the scale of true human technology. "It's incredible," he said, gesturing at the displays around them. "Every system we thought we invented, it was already here. We were just rediscovering what our ancestors built." Sarah nodded. "The aliens are about to learn the same thing. Dr. Kelveron sent a message 3 hours ago. They found Admiral Santos's recording. They know the truth now. How do you think they'll react?" Rodriguez asked. Sarah thought about Zenthara's arrogance, about the casual cruelty of the alien patrol forces, about centuries of forgotten children who had been taught to look down on their own ancestors. "Some of them will be angry," she said. "They've built their entire identities around being superior to humans. Learning that they are humans won't be easy to accept." "And the others?" Sarah smiled sadly. "The others will remember what it feels like to come home." The Synthesis dropped out of hyperspace near Kepler Prime like a mountain materializing from nothing. Every alien ship in the system turned to stare at the massive vessel that dwarfed their most powerful dreadnoughts. Sarah's communication request was answered immediately. The face of High Counselor Zenthara appeared on her screen, but the energy being looked different now. Less arrogant, more uncertain. "Ambassador Chen," Zenthara said carefully. "We need to talk." "Yes," Sarah replied. "I believe we do. I'm calling for a full assembly of the Confederation Council. There are some things we need to discuss about the true history of our galaxy." Behind her, the Synthesis's quantum gates were coming online throughout human space. Ancient installations were awakening on worlds that had been dark for centuries. And in the deepest vaults of the ship's memory banks, Admiral Elizabeth Santos's final protocols were activating. The scattered children of humanity were about to learn who they really were, and Sarah Chen, representing the few humans who had never forgotten, was about to offer them something that had been lost for 700 years. She was about to offer them the chance to come home. The Grand Assembly Hall on Kepler Prime had never been so quiet. Representatives from all 12 member species sat in stunned silence as Sarah Chen walked to the center of the circular chamber. But she was not alone this time. Behind her walked Captain Rodriguez and a full honor guard from the Synthesis. The massive human ship hung in space outside the station, its presence impossible to ignore. Ancient weapon systems that had been dormant for centuries were now powered and ready, but Sarah had not come to threaten. She had come to heal. "Members of the Galactic Confederation," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's advanced acoustics. "3 days ago, your scientists discovered the truth about the precursor ruins on Kepler 7. You learned that the ancient civilization you have studied for millennia was not alien at all." High Counselor Zinthera flickered nervously. Since recovering her memories, the energy being had been struggling with emotions she thought she had left behind centuries ago. Fear, hope, longing for something she had almost forgotten. "The precursors were human," Sarah continued, "but more than that, they were your ancestors. Every species in this chamber carries human DNA. Every technology you consider uniquely your own has its roots in human innovation. Every world you call home was once a human colony." Dr. Kelveran stood up, his crystal body pulsing with soft light. "We remember now," he said quietly. "The transformations, the adaptations, the choices our ancestors made to survive on worlds that were hostile to human life. We became Zephyrians to harness energy directly. We became Vorthak to merge with the ecosystems we needed to protect. We became the hegemony to transcend the physical limitations that war had shown us." Other representatives began to speak, sharing memories that had returned to them in the past 3 days. The spider-like arachnoids remembered being human miners who had adapted to life in low gravity. The gaseous nebula folk remembered being human explorers who had learned to exist in the spaces between stars. Even the most alien-looking species could trace their origins back to human stock. But not all the memories were pleasant. "We also remember the war," said Commander Vextar of the Shadow Fleet. His people had become living darkness, able to move unseen through space. "We remember the terror, the desperation, the feeling that everything we had built was falling apart. The Synthesis Collective promised us evolution," added Dr. Morgan, his tentacles writhing with uncomfortable memories. "They said we could become more than human, better than human. They said physical existence was holding us back from our true potential." Sarah nodded sadly. "And in many ways they were right. The modifications your ancestors chose allowed them to survive in places where baseline humans would have died. The hegemony's energy transformation gave them near immortality. The Zephyrians' crystal integration allowed them to manipulate matter at the quantum level. But the cost," Zinthara whispered, "was forgetting who we were." "Yes," Sarah said. "The transformations came with memory blocks, identity suppressors, genetic locks that prevented you from remembering your human origins. It was the only way to make the changes psychologically acceptable." She activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy as it had been 700 years ago. Thousands of human worlds connected by quantum gates, trade routes spanning entire sectors, a civilization that had touched every corner of known space. The human colonial empire was the most advanced civilization the galaxy had ever seen, Sarah explained. "We had solved faster-than-light travel, conquered death through medical technology, and learned to reshape matter at the atomic level. We were on the verge of becoming a Type 3 civilization, able to harness the energy of entire galaxies." "Then what went wrong?" asked Dr. Kelveran. Sarah's expression grew sad. "We began to ask fundamental questions about what it meant to be human. Was our biological form holding us back? Should we transcend our physical limitations? Could we become something greater than what evolution had made us?" The holographic display showed the schism that had torn human civilization apart. On one side, the colonial navy, fighting to preserve baseline humanity while allowing voluntary enhancement. On the other side, the Synthesis Collective, believing that forced evolution was necessary for human survival. The war lasted 50 years, Sarah continued. Entire star systems were depopulated. The quantum gate network was destroyed to prevent either side from achieving total victory. And in the end, both sides lost. "But we survived," said a new voice. Everyone turned to look at the speaker. It was Admiral Santos herself, not a hologram this time, but the actual person. She had been in cryogenic suspension aboard the Synthesis for over 7 centuries, waiting for this moment. "Admiral," Sarah said respectfully, "I didn't expect you to wake up so soon." "When my ship detected the activation of precursor memory engrams throughout the galaxy, my revival protocols triggered automatically," Santos explained. She looked older than in the holographic recordings, but her eyes were still sharp and determined. She turned to address the assembled alien representatives. "I am sorry," she said simply. "I am sorry for the war that scattered you across the galaxy. I am sorry for the memory blocks that made you forget your origins. And I am sorry for the loneliness you must have felt, thinking you were alone in the universe." Zenthara flickered brightly. "We were not alone. We had each other. We formed the Confederation to share knowledge and protect the galaxy from threats. From threats like primitive humans," Santos said with a sad smile. "You became everything we had hoped you would become. Advanced, peaceful, cooperative. But you also became strangers to yourselves. Can it be undone?" Dr. Morgan asked suddenly. "The transformations, the memory blocks, the genetic modifications, can we return to what we were?" Santos and Sarah exchanged glances. They had discussed this possibility during the journey to Kepler Prime. "Some changes can be reversed," Santos said carefully. "The memory blocks are already failing now that they've been triggered. The genetic modifications can be undone, though it would take years and might not be safe for everyone. But," Sarah added, "the real question is, should they be undone? You are not the same humans who were transformed 7 centuries ago. You have grown, evolved, and adapted in ways that have made you unique. The galaxy is richer for your diversity." She gestured to the assembled representatives. "The Zephyrians have unlocked secrets of quantum manipulation that baseline humans never discovered. The Vorthak have achieved biological harmony that we can only dream of. The hegemony has transcended physical limitations in ways that the original Synthesis Collective never imagined." "What are you proposing?" Zenthara asked. "Integration," Sarah said. "Not a return to the past, but a new future that combines the best of what we have all become. The original humans who survived on Earth and the colonies, working together with our transformed descendants who have become the alien species of the galaxy." Admiral Santos stepped forward. "I propose the formation of the new Terran Collective. Not an empire this time, but a true democracy, where every branch of humanity has a voice, where baseline humans work alongside energy beings and crystal entities and biological symbionts. The technologies you have developed separately could be combined," Sarah added. "Zephyrian quantum manipulation with human engineering, Vorthak biotechnology with human medical science, hegemony energy research with human computing power." Dr. Kelveran's body pulsed with excited light. The potential for advancement would be incredible. "We could solve problems that have plagued individual species for millennia, and we could explore regions of space that none of us could survive alone," added Commander Vextar. "Baseline humans for terrestrial worlds, energy beings for stellar environments, adapted species for hostile environments." The discussion continued for hours. Representatives shared ideas, concerns, and hopes for what a reunited human civilization might accomplish. There were disagreements, of course. Some species wanted to maintain their independence. Others worried about losing their unique identities. But gradually, a consensus emerged. "We vote," Zenthara announced, "to dissolve the Galactic Confederation and join the new Terran Collective as equals." The vote was unanimous. Sarah felt tears running down her cheeks as she watched 12 species of transformed humans choose to come home. It would not be easy. There would be challenges, conflicts, and difficult adjustments. But for the first time in 700 years, humanity was whole again. Admiral Santos activated the Synthesis's communication array, sending a message to every human world throughout the galaxy. "This is Admiral Elizabeth Santos, Colonial Navy to all human populations," she broadcast. "The war is over. The separation is ended. Come home." Across thousands of star systems, quantum gates that had been dark for centuries began to flicker back to life. Ancient defense platforms powered up, recognizing friendly genetic signatures. Hidden technology caches revealed themselves to human colonies that had forgotten they existed. And on a space station orbiting a distant star, Sarah Chen watched as the scattered children of Earth finally remembered who they were and chose to be human again. The galaxy would never be the same, but for the first time in 7 centuries it would truly be home.